My wife smiled and called her boss her mentor for 6 months straight. I never said a word, never flinched, just quietly collected every receipt until the day he promoted her. I filed for divorce that morning and hand-delivered the evidence to HR that afternoon. I knew for 6 months. I need you to understand that number. Not 6 days. Not 6 weeks. 6 months. 182 days of knowing my wife was sleeping with her boss while she sat across from me at dinner and called him her mentor. 182 dinners where she said his name, Daniel, and smiled in a way that told me everything, and I smiled back in a way that told her nothing. I didn't confront her. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't check her phone in front of her. Didn't ask leading questions. Didn't give her a single reason to suspect that I knew. For 6 months I was the perfect husband. Loving. Trusting. Supportive. The man who kissed her goodbye every morning and said, "Have a great day, babe. Kill it at work." While knowing exactly what she was killing and who she was killing it with. I wasn't being patient. I was building a case. My name is Emmett. I'm 37. My ex-wife's name is Brooke. She's 34. Her boss's name is Daniel Whitmore. He's 46. Married. 2 kids. Vice president of operations at a logistics company where Brooke worked as a senior account manager. And for 6 months, from October to March, Daniel Whitmore was sleeping with my wife and calling it mentorship, and my wife was sleeping with Daniel Whitmore and calling it a career opportunity. And I was sitting at home with a growing folder of evidence and a lawyer on speed dial waiting for the exact right moment to use both. The exact right moment was the day he promoted her. Because the promotion turned the affair from a personal betrayal into a corporate liability. And corporate liabilities have consequences that no amount of crying or apologizing or "it didn't mean anything" can make disappear. Let me start at the beginning. Not the affair. Me and Brooke. Because you need to understand what this marriage was before you can understand what I did when it ended. Brooke and I met at 26. Both of us. Same age. Same friends. Same bar on a Friday night. She was in marketing then. Entry level. Ambitious. The kind of ambitious that makes you attractive when you're 26 because it looks like drive and purpose and a woman who knows what she wants. That same ambition at 34 looked different. It looked like a woman who wanted more than the life we'd built and was willing to get it however she could. We married at 28. Nice wedding. Nothing extravagant. My parents helped. Her parents helped. We bought a house at 30. 3 bedrooms. Good neighborhood. I work in cybersecurity. Information security analyst. I monitor systems. I detect anomalies. I find patterns in data that other people miss. That's my job. Finding what's hidden. Remember that. It matters later. We didn't have kids. Brooke didn't want them yet. She said, "Let me get to director level first. Then we'll talk about it." I said, "Okay." I waited. She got promoted to senior account manager. Then she said, "Let me get to VP first." The goalpost moved. I noticed. Filed it. Didn't react. Daniel Whitmore joined the company 18 months before the affair started. New VP of operations. Brought in from outside. I met him at a company holiday party a year before everything happened. Firm handshake. Eye contact. The kind of man who makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room for exactly 90 seconds before he moves to the next person. Professional charm. Polished. Expensive watch. Expensive suit. The kind of details that don't mean anything by themselves but mean everything when you stack them next to what came later. Brooke started mentioning Daniel about 12 months before the affair. My mentor. Daniel thinks I have real potential. Daniel said my presentation was the best he's seen this quarter. Daniel wants me to lead the Atlanta project. Daniel. 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 His name entered our house like a roommate we didn't invite. He was at dinner every night. Not physically. But his name was. His opinions were. His approval was. My wife was bringing another man's validation home and serving it alongside the pasta. I noticed. Filed it. Didn't react. The shift happened in October. Brooke's behavior changed. Not dramatically. Subtly. The kind of changes that a normal husband might miss but a man who detects anomalies for a living doesn't. She started going to the gym more. 3 times a week became 5. She bought new underwear. Not for me. I know because the new underwear appeared and our intimacy decreased simultaneously. She started working late. 2 nights a week became 4. She guarded her phone. Not obviously. She didn't hide it. She just angled it. Tilted the screen when I walked by. A 2-degree adjustment that most people wouldn't notice. I noticed. Because I noticed 2-degree adjustments. That's literally what I'm trained to do. Week 1. I didn't say anything. I watched. Observed. Cataloged. The gym schedule. The phone angle. The late nights. The new underwear. The way she said Daniel's name differently now. Not Daniel thinks I have potential. Now it was just Daniel. Softer. Familiar. The way you say someone's name when they've become more than a title. Week 2. I started collecting evidence. Not by snooping through her phone. I didn't need to. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I know how data moves. I know where it lives. I know how to find it without leaving fingerprints. Our home network. I manage it. Every device that connects to our Wi-Fi runs through my system. I don't monitor content. I monitor patterns. Connection times. Data volumes. Device locations when connected to certain networks. I could see when Brooke's phone connected to unfamiliar Wi-Fi networks. A network at a hotel downtown appeared 3 times in October. Her phone pinged that network between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on nights she said she was working late. I cross-referenced. Pulled up her work calendar. She had it shared with me for scheduling purposes. On those 3 nights, her calendar showed late meetings with D.W. Daniel Whitmore. Meetings that ended at 5:30 p.m. according to the calendar but somehow required her phone to be at a hotel downtown until 9 p.m. I didn't confront. I documented. Screenshot of the Wi-Fi log. Screenshot of the calendar. Date. Time. Duration. Filed in a folder on an encrypted drive. Folder name, insurance. November. 2 more hotel pings. Same network. Same time pattern. Same DW calendar entries. I started pulling financial data. Our credit cards were joint but Brooke had a personal card I didn't monitor. Except I could see the statements because they came to our home address. She didn't think to change the mailing address because she didn't think I was looking. The personal card showed charges at the hotel. Not room charges. She was smarter than that. Bar charges. $34. $41. $28. Small enough to explain away. But consistent with hotel bar visits on nights her phone was connected to the hotel Wi-Fi. Another layer of documentation. December. Company holiday party. I went. Shook Daniel's hand. Same firm grip. Same 90-second charm. I watched him interact with Brooke across the room. Nothing overt. No touching. No lingering looks that anyone else would catch. But I caught something smaller. Proximity. He stood near her. Not next to her. Near her. A 3-foot radius he maintained unconsciously. The gravity of 2 people who know each other's bodies. You can't hide it completely. Physics won't let you. The body remembers closeness and recreates it in public through distance calibration. 3 feet. Not 2. Not 4. 3. The distance of secret intimacy. I shook his hand at the end of the night. I said, "Great party, Daniel. Brooke tells me you've been an incredible mentor." He smiled. He said, "She's got real talent. I'm just making sure the company sees it." Making sure the company sees it. Interesting phrasing for a man who was making sure the inside of a hotel room saw it 3 nights a month. I went home. Added the party observations to the folder. Updated the timeline. Continued being the perfect husband. January through March. The evidence grew. 7 more hotel pings. 4 more credit card charges at the hotel bar. I also found something new. Uber receipts. Brooke had an Uber account linked to an email she didn't know I knew about. The receipts showed rides from the office to the hotel. And rides from the hotel to the office. Not home. Back to the office. So she could drive home from work like normal. Like she'd been at the office the whole time. She was routing her Uber through the office to cover the hotel visits. That's not a mistake. That's not something that just happened. That's logistics. That's planning. That's a woman who spent mental energy designing a deception route to maintain the lie. While I sat at home making dinner and feeding the dog and being the husband she was hiding things from. I documented the Uber route pattern. Added it to the folder. By March I had 47 pieces of documented evidence spanning 6 months. Wi-Fi logs. Calendar screenshots. Credit card statements. Uber receipts. Party observations. Timeline correlations. A folder so thorough that when I finally showed it to my lawyer, she looked at it for 10 minutes and said, "I've been practicing family law for 15 years. This is the most organized evidence package I've ever seen from a client." I said, "It's what I do." She said, "What do you do?" I detect anomalies. March wasn't just the end of the collection. It was the peak. Because in February something happened that almost broke my discipline. Almost made me confront early. Almost ruined 6 months of patience. Valentine's Day. Brooke came home with a gift. A necklace. Thin gold chain. Small pendant. She said her girlfriends at work chipped in for it because they knew she'd been working hard. I looked at the necklace. I looked at her. I said, "That's beautiful. Put it on for me." She put it on. Smiled. Turned around so I could see it. And I recognized the box it came in. Small. Black. Embossed lettering. From a jeweler downtown called Merritt & Cole. I knew that store because I'd walked past it 100 times. The store where minimum purchase is $400. Her girlfriends didn't buy her a $400 necklace. Daniel bought her a $400 necklace. And she wore it in front of me. At dinner. On Valentine's Day. In our house. While I'd cooked her steak and opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for 2 months. I wanted to say something. Every muscle in my body wanted to reach across that table and say, "I know who bought you that necklace. I know what you're doing. I know everything." But I didn't. Because saying something in February meant losing March. And March was when the promotion was coming. I knew because Brooke had mentioned it. Daniel thinks I'm getting the director role next quarter. Next quarter was March. And the promotion was the thing that turned a personal affair into a professional violation. Without the promotion, I had a divorce case. With the promotion, I had a divorce case and an HR nuclear bomb. So I looked at the necklace. I said, "It looks perfect on you." And I poured more wine. And I added another entry to the folder. Valentine's Day. Necklace. Merit and Cole. Approximate value $400 to $600. Gifted by DW under false pretense. 44 pieces became 45. Patience held. Discipline held. The hardest night of the 6 months. And I smiled through it. March 14th. Brooke came home glowing. Literally glowing. Cheeks flushed. Eyes bright. She put down her bag. She said, "Emmett, I got promoted. Senior Director of Business Development." Daniel announced it today in front of the whole team. He said I was the most deserving candidate he'd ever recommended. She was beaming. Happy. Proud. The kind of pride that comes from achievement. Except the achievement was contaminated. The promotion was real. Her qualifications were real. Her work was real. But the process was compromised. Because the man who promoted her was the man who was sleeping with her. And that fact transformed a career milestone into a corporate HR violation. I hugged her. I said, "That's amazing, babe. I'm so proud of you. You deserve it." She smiled. She had no idea that my lawyer had been notified that morning. That the divorce petition had been drafted 2 weeks earlier and was sitting in a manila envelope in the trunk of my car. That I was hugging the woman I was about to divorce and meaning the hug because it was the last one. March 15th. 8:47 a.m. Brooke left for work. Kissed me goodbye. Said, "Long day today. New role orientation." I said, "Kill it." 9:15 a.m. I drove to the courthouse. Filed the divorce petition. Grounds, adultery. The clerk stamped it. It was official. 10:30 a.m. I drove to Brooke's company. Walked into the lobby. I was wearing a suit. I'd planned that. A suit communicates seriousness. Communicates intention. Communicates that the man standing in your lobby is not here for a casual visit. I asked for the HR director. A woman named Sandra Voss. The receptionist said, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No. But tell her it involves Daniel Whitmore and a recently promoted employee." The receptionist's face changed. She picked up the phone. 2 minutes later I was in Sandra's office. I handed her the folder. All 47 pieces. Organized chronologically. Indexed. With a cover sheet that summarized the evidence and its implications for the company. I said, "My name is Emmett Brooks. My wife is Brooke Brooks. She was promoted yesterday to Senior Director by Daniel Whitmore, the VP of Operations. Daniel Whitmore has been having a sexual relationship with my wife for approximately 6 months. The evidence in this folder documents the relationship through network data, financial records, and scheduling patterns. My wife's promotion was made by a man she's been sleeping with. That's a conflict of interest, a potential quid pro quo violation, and a liability for your company. I'm filing for divorce this morning. What you do with this information is your business. But I wanted you to have it before it became everyone's business." Sandra looked at the folder. Looked at me. She said, "Mr. Brooks, thank you for bringing this to our attention." She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. Her face said the rest. The face of an HR director who just realized that a VP promoted his affair partner and the evidence was sitting on her desk organized better than most internal audits. I stood up. I said, "Have a good day." I walked out. 11:45 a.m. I went home. Changed out of the suit. Made lunch. Fed the dog. Sat on the couch. Read a book. Waited. Brooke called at 2:15 p.m. Not her usual time. Her voice was different. Tight. High. The voice of a person whose world has just shifted beneath them. She said, "Emmett. Something happened at work. HR pulled me into a meeting. They asked me about Daniel. They have some kind of file. They know." I said, "I know they know." I gave them the file. Silence. 6 seconds. I counted. She said, "What?" I said, "I've known for 6 months, Brooke. Since October. The hotel downtown. The Wi-Fi logs. The credit card charges. The Uber routes from the office to the hotel and back. The calendar entries with DW that ended at 5:30 but kept your phone at a hotel until 9. All of it. 6 months. I documented everything. I gave the file to HR this morning. I filed for divorce this morning. You've been served by the time you get home." She started hyperventilating. She said, "Emmett, please. Let me explain. It wasn't." I said, "Don't say it wasn't what I think. I know exactly what it was. I watched it for 6 months. I have 47 pieces of evidence. Your lawyer can review them during discovery." She said, "Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you confront me? We could have talked about it. We could have gone to therapy. You just watched for 6 months and collected evidence like I was a case. Like I was a target. I said, you spent 6 months lying to me. Coming home and calling him your mentor. Kissing me goodbye and driving to a hotel. Designing Uber routes to hide where you'd been. You spent 6 months treating me like a fool. I spent 6 months proving I wasn't one. She was crying. She said, you destroyed my career. I said, you destroyed our marriage. I just made sure the timing aligned. The aftermath. Both sides. Because both sides matter. Daniel Whitmore was placed on administrative leave within 48 hours. HR launched an internal investigation. The 47-piece evidence folder became Exhibit A. The investigation confirmed the relationship through company email analysis. Daniel had been emailing Brooke from his work account. Not explicit content. But scheduling. Planning. The kind of emails that alone mean nothing but next to hotel Wi-Fi logs and Uber routes mean everything. Daniel was terminated 3 weeks later. Not for the affair. Companies don't fire VPs for personal relationships. They fire them for promoting the people they're sleeping with. The quid pro quo was the kill shot. Daniel had recommended Brooke for a promotion. Signed off on her performance reviews. Approved her bonus. While sleeping with her. Every one of those actions became a liability. Every one of those signatures became evidence of compromised judgment. Daniel's wife found out through the investigation. Company gossip moves fast. Someone told someone who told someone who told Daniel's wife, Karen. She filed for divorce a month after Daniel was fired. 2 kids. 14 and 11. Their father lost his job and his marriage because he couldn't keep his mentorship professional. Brooke wasn't fired. HR determined she was the subordinate in a power dynamic and treated her as a potential victim of quid pro quo harassment rather than a willing participant. That's company policy. Protect the subordinate. Investigate the superior. Brooke kept her job. But the promotion was rescinded. Rolled back to senior account manager. The title she'd worked for, the title she'd celebrated, the title she'd come home glowing about, reversed. And everyone in that office knew why. She went from the most promoted woman in the building to the most talked about woman in the building in a single week. That's not a consequence I engineered. That's a consequence that truth creates when it enters a space that was built on lies. The divorce was clean. My lawyer presented the evidence. Brooke's lawyer reviewed it. There was nothing to contest. Adultery documented across 6 months with 47 pieces of evidence. The judge awarded me the house. No alimony. Fair split of remaining assets. Brooke moved into an apartment. Alone. Daniel wasn't there to catch her because Daniel was dealing with his own divorce and his own termination and his own 2 children who were old enough to Google their father's name and find out why he doesn't work at that company anymore. Brooke tried to call me twice after the divorce was final. Both times I let it go to voicemail. The first voicemail she was angry. She said I'd ruined her reputation. That I'd been vindictive. That a real husband would have confronted her and given her a chance to explain. A chance to explain. She wanted me to confront her in month 1 so she could cry and apologize and promise to stop and maybe stop or maybe just hide it better. She wanted the early warning so she could adjust the deception. She wanted the confrontation because confrontation gives the cheater a roadmap. It tells them what you know and what you don't. It gives them the chance to fill the gaps, delete the evidence, and craft a better lie. I didn't confront because confrontation is for people who want to fix things. I didn't want to fix anything. I wanted to finish it. The second voicemail she was quiet. She said, I know you won't call me back. I just need to say this. I know what I did. I know I lied. For 6 months. To your face. While you made dinner and walked the dog and said have a great day. I know. And I know that you knowing and not saying anything for 6 months is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Because every memory I have of those 6 months is now a lie I told to a man who was already writing the ending. I didn't get 6 months of an affair. I got 6 months of a man watching me destroy myself and choosing to let me finish. She's right. I let her finish. I let her lie for 6 months because every lie was evidence and every piece of evidence was a brick and I was building a wall so complete that when I finally revealed it, there would be no door to walk through. No crack to exploit. No angle to spin. Just a wall. Built on truth. Documented in triplicate. Filed at the courthouse and hand-delivered to HR. I'm 37. I live in our house. The dog is here. The couch is here. I read on Tuesday nights. Glasses on. The house is quieter now. But the quiet doesn't feel like wait anymore. It feels like clarity. The clarity of a man who detected the anomaly, documented the pattern, and executed the response on his own terms. On his own timeline. With his own evidence. She called him her mentor. Smiled when she said his name. Kissed me goodbye every morning. Came home from hotels and asked me how my day was. For 6 months I answered, good. How was yours? For 6 months she said, great. Daniel's been really supportive. For 6 months I smiled. Nodded. Made dinner. Fed the dog. Added another piece to the folder. 47 pieces. 1 folder. 1 morning. 1 courthouse. 1 HR office. One suit. She smiled for 6 months. I waited for 6 months. She thought patience was ignorance. She was wrong.